For 2 decades, humanity sat at the table of galactic power, silenced, mocked, and bound by laws written in alien tongues. But when they came for our homes, when they tried to tear our families apart in the name of order, Earth didn't argue. It vanished. No war was declared, no warning was given. One by one, our colonies went dark. Entire civilizations erased their presence, and left behind only silence. They called it desertion, we called it survival. Now the stars tremble, not from warships, but from absence, because the galaxy is only just learning the truth. It needed us more than we ever needed it. The breaking point. The assembly hall of Kepler Station stretched endlessly before Ambassador Elena Vasquez as she walked through its gleaming corridors one final time. For 20 years, she had called this place her second home. The crystalline walls hummed with energy from 14 different alien atmospheres mixing in perfect harmony, creating an environment where the galaxy's most powerful species could meet and decide the fate of countless worlds. Elena adjusted her formal diplomatic robes, the deep blue fabric bearing Earth's insignia, and prepared herself for what she knew would be her last session as humanity's voice in the Galactic Assembly. The massive doors slid open with a soft whisper, revealing the circular chamber where representatives from across known space gathered. Each species occupied their designated section, with environmental controls tailored to their specific needs. The Dominion Alliance, led by the reptilian Thrakvel, dominated the eastern quadrant with their imposing scaled forms. The ethereal Luminary floated in their energy pods to the west, while the insectoid Hive Collective clustered in their geometric formations to the north. Elena took her place in the human section, a modest area that reflected humanity's junior status in galactic politics despite their significant contributions to the Assembly over 2 decades. Councillor Thrakvel rose from his elevated platform, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber floor. His voice carried the authority of 5,000 years of galactic dominance as he addressed the Assembly through the Universal Translation System. The issue before us today concerns the uncontrolled expansion of the human species throughout our galaxy. In the past 50 years, humans have established colonies in over 200 systems, demonstrating a pattern of aggressive territorial acquisition that threatens the delicate balance we have maintained for millennia. Elena felt her heart rate increase as murmurs of agreement rippled through the alien sections. She had seen this coming for months, watching as various species grew increasingly uncomfortable with humanity's natural drive to explore and settle new worlds. What they called aggressive expansion, she knew was simply the human spirit of discovery and the desire to build better lives for their families among the stars. The luminary representative, a being of pure energy named Flux Prime, materialized at the center of the chamber. Its voice resonated with harmonic frequencies that somehow conveyed both beauty and menace. The human reproductive rate exceeds acceptable parameters for galactic stability. Their technological advancement, while impressive, follows unpredictable patterns that disrupt established scientific protocols. Most concerning is their tendency toward emotional decision-making, which introduces chaos into systems that have operated smoothly for thousands of years. Elena stood slowly, her diplomatic training keeping her voice steady despite the anger building inside her chest. Honorable representatives, humanity has followed every treaty, respected every boundary, and contributed significantly to galactic science, trade, and culture. Our colonies exist only in previously unclaimed systems, and our expansion has harmed no existing civilization. We seek only to build peaceful communities and contribute to the greater galactic community. A harsh clicking sound filled the chamber as the Hive Collective's prime voice, designated as Unit 7, communicated its position. Human emotional volatility presents unacceptable risk factors. Their capacity for individual thought creates unpredictable variables in social equations. The collective calculates a 73.6% probability of future conflict if human expansion continues unchecked. Recommended solution requires immediate implementation of containment protocols. The word containment sent a chill through Elena's spine. She had heard whispers in the diplomatic channels, rumors of what the other species really thought about humanity's place in the galaxy. Now those whispers were becoming official policy. She watched as holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing detailed plans that made her blood run cold. Director Marcus Chen had warned her this day might come. Deep beneath the surface of Luna, his team had been working on contingency plans for over 15 years, ever since humanity first detected subtle changes in alien attitudes toward human expansion. The Human Defense Initiative had seemed like paranoid preparation at the time, but now Elena realized how prescient Marcus had been. She touched the small communication device hidden beneath her diplomatic sash, sending a coded signal that would change the course of human history. Counselor Thrakvel activated the main viewing system, displaying a comprehensive relocation plan that took Elena's breath away. The Galactic Assembly hereby authorizes the consolidation of all human populations into 12 designated systems within the Sol sector. This measure will provide adequate space for current human populations while preventing further destabilization of galactic order. All existing human colonies beyond these boundaries will be evacuated within one standard galactic year. Elena's diplomatic composure finally cracked as she realized the full scope of what was being proposed. You're talking about forcibly relocating over 40 million people from homes they've built over decades. Families who have never known any world but the ones they were born on. Communities that have contributed billions of credits to galactic commerce and countless innovations to galactic science. The evacuation will be conducted humanely. Thrakvel continued as if Elena hadn't spoken. Families will be kept together during the relocation process, and adequate housing will be provided in the designated systems. However, to ensure proper integration into galactic society, human children over the age of 12 will be placed in assembly education centers, where they can learn appropriate social behaviors and reduce their species' tendency toward disruptive independence. The chamber fell silent as the full implications of this statement sank in. Elena felt the world tilt around her as she processed what she had just heard. They wanted to take human children away from their parents for proper education in alien facilities. This wasn't relocation, it was cultural extinction disguised as administrative policy. Captain Sarah Reynolds received Elena's emergency signal aboard the UES Defiant, currently disguised as a routine cargo vessel patrolling the outer rim of human space. Her bridge crew looked up expectantly as she read the coded message that they had all been dreading for years. Prometheus Protocol is now active. All units prepare for immediate deployment. The Defiant was one of over 300 vessels that appeared to be civilian transports or mining ships, but were actually the most advanced military vessels ever constructed by any species in the galaxy. Project Horizon had been humanity's secret insurance policy, developed using technologies that the aliens believed were beyond human capabilities. While the Galactic Assembly saw humans as a junior species dependent on alien knowledge, the reality was that human ingenuity had secretly surpassed their teachers years ago. Dr. Michael Torres monitored the activation sequence from his hidden laboratory complex in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. His team had spent decades developing the quantum displacement drives that would allow human ships to travel through dimensions that aliens couldn't even detect, much less follow. The navigation networks that the galaxy depended on for faster-than-light travel contained human-designed algorithms that could be remotely modified or deleted. Every major infrastructure system from banking to communications had human fingerprints embedded so deeply that removing them would cause complete systemic collapse. Back in the assembly hall, Elena made her decision. She stood with the dignity that 20 years of diplomatic service had taught her, but with a steel in her voice that surprised even herself. Honorable representatives, I have served as Earth's voice in this assembly for 2 decades. I have watched you make decisions based on fear and prejudice rather than justice and wisdom. Today you have crossed a line that no species should cross. You have decided to steal our children in the name of your version of civilization. The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably as Elena's voice grew stronger. Throughout this galaxy, humans have built, created, innovated, and contributed far beyond what our numbers would suggest possible. We have asked for nothing but the freedom to exist and grow as we choose. Instead, you offer us cages disguised as protection and cultural destruction disguised as education. Elena gathered her papers and sealed them in her diplomatic case for the last time. Therefore, I announce that Earth formally withdraws from the Galactic Assembly, effective immediately. We reject your authority over human affairs and will govern ourselves according to our own values and principles. We will defend our colonies, protect our families, and chart our own course among the stars. The chamber erupted in chaos as representatives from every species began speaking at once. Some laughed, thinking this was an empty threat from a species they considered dependent on galactic support. Others looked concerned, perhaps beginning to sense that humanity's capabilities had been seriously underestimated. Elena walked calmly toward the exit as alarms began sounding throughout Kepler Station. Within hours, every human colony in the galaxy received the same message. Operation Exodus was beginning. Families who had lived peacefully for decades suddenly found themselves packing essential belongings and preparing to abandon everything they had built. But this wasn't a panicked evacuation. It was the execution of a plan that had been refined and practiced for 15 years. Hidden supply caches revealed themselves, concealed transport networks activated, and defensive systems that aliens had never suspected came online. The first alien inspection teams arrived at human colonies to find organized, efficient evacuation procedures already underway. What had taken the aliens months to plan, humans were implementing in days. As Elena's transport departed Kepler Station for the last time, she sent one final message to the Galactic Assembly. "You have chosen to see us as children who need your guidance. Today, you will learn what happens when the children decide to leave home." The Great Departure Colony leader James Mitchell stood in the central plaza of New Terra, watching as the morning sun cast long shadows across the settlement his people had built from nothing over the past 18 years. The agricultural domes gleamed in the distance, their transparent surfaces revealing the green abundance within that fed not just New Terra but 3 neighboring systems. Children played in the carefully maintained parks while their parents prepared for another day of productive work that had made this world a model for successful human colonization. The peaceful morning was shattered by the arrival of 3 massive alien vessels that descended from the sky like metallic storms. The ships bore the insignia of the Galactic Assembly's Enforcement Division, and James knew immediately why they had come. The emergency message from Earth had reached New Terra 12 hours ago, but he had hoped they would have more time to prepare. The Prometheus protocol was now active, but implementing it under the watchful eyes of alien inspectors would require every bit of cunning his people possessed. Inspector Zix-9 materialized from the lead vessel, its insectoid form clicking across the plaza pavement with mechanical precision. The alien's compound eyes swept across the human settlement with what could only be described as disdain, though its voice through the universal translator remained coldly professional. "Colony Leader Mitchell, I am Inspector Zix-9 of the Assembly Enforcement Division. You will facilitate the immediate and orderly relocation of all human residents to designated transport vessels." James stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back in a gesture that appeared calm, but actually activated the concealed communication device built into his colony leadership ring. "All residents of New Terra, this is Colony Leader Mitchell. Exodus protocols are now active. Proceed to designated assembly points for departure preparation." To Inspector Zix-9, he said aloud, "We will cooperate with the relocation order, but we need 72 hours to properly secure our agricultural systems and ensure no environmental damage occurs during our departure." The alien inspector's mandibles clicked with what humans had learned to recognize as irritation. The assembly timeline allows for 24 hours maximum. Environmental concerns are secondary to relocation efficiency. You will begin immediate boarding procedures or face enforcement action. What Inspector Zix-9 did not realize was that New Terra, like every human colony, had been built with hidden systems that were now activating throughout the settlement. Beneath the agricultural domes, automated harvesting systems were collecting seed stocks, plant samples, and soil cultures that contained years of careful adaptation work. Underground manufacturing facilities that aliens had never detected were packaging essential equipment and supplies into compact transport modules. The children playing in the parks were actually following carefully rehearsed evacuation drills disguised as games. Admiral Lisa Park received the deployment orders aboard the UES Harmony, positioned 3 light-years away from New Terra, in a region of space that should have been empty according to all galactic navigation charts. Her fleet of 60 vessels appeared to be a collection of asteroid mining platforms and deep space research stations, but each ship contained advanced quarters, medical facilities, and manufacturing capabilities designed to support entire populations during extended voyages. Admiral Park activated the quantum communication network that connected every human settlement across the galaxy. This system operated on principles that alien science considered impossible, allowing instantaneous communication across unlimited distances without any detectable emissions. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Park. Operation Exodus Phase 2 is now active. Begin convergence on designated rally points and prepare for full population transfer. Back on New Terra, Dr. Rachel Kim was making final adjustments to the planetary defense grid that aliens had classified as a weather monitoring system. The truth was that every human colony possessed defensive capabilities that could protect against most forms of alien weaponry, powered by fusion reactors that aliens believed were simple atmospheric processors. Rachel's modifications would ensure that when the humans left, the planet would remain habitable but completely inaccessible to alien occupation. The evacuation process unfolded with a precision that astonished the alien inspection teams. Families appeared at designated gathering points with personal belongings that seemed impossibly compact, yet somehow contained everything they valued. Children showed no signs of distress, instead displaying excitement about what they called the big adventure. Adults moved with the calm efficiency of people executing a plan they had practiced countless times. Inspector Zix-9 observed the proceedings with growing unease. The human evacuation was proceeding too smoothly, with logistics coordination that suggested advanced preparation far beyond what should have been possible given the short notice. When the inspector attempted to inspect human transport vessels, it encountered polite but firm resistance from Captain Reynolds and her crew. Captain Sarah Reynolds had arrived at New Terra aboard the UES Defiant, its external appearance matching that of a standard civilian transport. Inspector Zix-9, you are welcome to observe our evacuation procedures, but interference with our vessels constitutes a violation of interspecies sovereignty laws. We are complying with assembly relocation orders and departing as requested. The alien inspector's compound eyes focused on the human captain with calculating intensity. Your vessel's energy signatures are inconsistent with standard human technology. Submit to full technical inspection or face detention for treaty violations. Sarah smiled with the confidence of someone holding overwhelmingly superior cards. Inspector, you ordered us to leave. We are leaving. Our ship specifications are our own business as long as we comply with your evacuation timeline, which we are doing ahead of schedule, I might add. What happened next would be discussed in alien military academies for decades to come. The UES Defiant, while loading the final groups of evacuees, suddenly demonstrated capabilities that should have been impossible for human technology. When alien enforcement vessels moved to intercept departing human ships, they found their targets moving at speeds that exceeded all known propulsion limits. The human vessels didn't just outrun pursuit, they seemed to phase in and out of normal spacetime, appearing and disappearing in ways that violated everything aliens understood about physics. President David Walsh coordinated the global exodus from the Emergency Command Center buried beneath the Rocky Mountains. His wall-mounted displays showed the status of human evacuations across 217 colonies, with each settlement reporting successful implementation of exodus protocols. The scope of the operation was staggering, over 40 million people being relocated simultaneously across thousands of light-years, all while maintaining perfect operational security. Dr. Rachel Kim transmitted her final report as New Terra's population completed their departure. Mr. President, all human settlements have successfully activated their post-evacuation security protocols. The planets will remain environmentally stable but completely inaccessible to alien occupation. Navigation data for all human colonies has been purged from galactic databases. Any attempt to reach our former territories will result in ships becoming lost in regions of space that no longer officially exist. The technological revelation behind humanity's escape capabilities was years in the making. While aliens had shared their existing knowledge with humans as junior partners, they had vastly underestimated human innovation potential. Human scientists had not simply learned alien technology, they had improved it beyond recognition, developed entirely new principles, and created capabilities that surpassed their teachers. The quantum displacement drives, dimensional phase shifting, and navigation erasure protocols were all human innovations that aliens couldn't even comprehend, much less duplicate. Admiral Park watched as the last human civilian transports departed their assigned colonies, each vessel protected by defensive systems that rendered them effectively invisible to alien sensors. The evacuation fleet moved through space using routes that existed in parallel dimensions, allowing them to travel vast distances while remaining completely undetectable to any alien tracking systems. Colony leader James Mitchell stood on the bridge of the UES New Dawn, watching through the view screen as New Terra receded into the distance. His people had transformed an empty world into a thriving civilization over 18 years, and now they were leaving it behind not in defeat but as part of a larger strategy for human independence. The agricultural knowledge they had developed, the community structures they had refined, and the innovations they had created were all safely preserved in the colony ship's databases, ready to be implemented wherever humans chose to build their next chapter. Inspector Zix-9 filed its report with growing alarm as it became clear that the human evacuation was not a desperate flight, but a carefully orchestrated withdrawal. Human ships displayed technological capabilities that exceeded assembly specifications by orders of magnitude. Their coordination suggested planning that must have begun years before the relocation order was issued. Most disturbing of all, every attempt to track departing human vessels resulted in complete sensor failure, as if the ships had simply ceased to exist. The final phase of the evacuation revealed the true scope of human preparation. As the last civilian transports departed human space, automated systems began activating across every former colony world. Defensive barriers that aliens had never detected came online, creating impenetrable shields around entire planets. Navigation beacons that had guided galactic traffic for decades simply vanished from sensor networks. Even the quantum communication relays that enabled faster-than-light messaging throughout the galaxy began showing systematic failures that traced back to human-designed components. President Walsh addressed the scattered human population through the quantum communication network as the exodus reached completion. Citizens of Earth and all her children, today marks not an ending, but a beginning. We leave behind worlds we built and loved, but we take with us everything that truly matters: our families, our knowledge, our determination, and our freedom. The galaxy chose to see us as a problem to be managed rather than partners to be respected. Today they learn the difference between managing a population and losing a civilization. Within 72 hours of Ambassador Elena Vasquez walking out of the Galactic Assembly, every human presence in known space had vanished. 40 million people, advanced technologies that aliens were only beginning to understand, and infrastructure systems that had become integral to galactic civilization had simply disappeared. The aliens who had demanded human relocation were about to discover that they had not solved a problem. They had created a crisis that would threaten the very foundation of galactic society. As the last human ship disappeared into dimensions that alien science couldn't detect, Inspector Zix-9 filed a final report that would send shockwaves through the Galactic Assembly. The humans are gone, but they took more than their people and belongings. They took technologies, knowledge, and capabilities that we never realized we depended on. Whatever they were planning, this was not a retreat. This was preparation for something far larger than we anticipated. The Reckoning. 6 months had passed since the last human ship vanished from galactic space, and Chancellor Vorthak of the Dominion Alliance found himself facing the greatest crisis in his species' 5,000-year history. The emergency session of the Galactic Assembly had been called after 3 major star systems experienced complete infrastructure collapse, but the scope of the disaster was only beginning to become apparent. The gleaming chamber that had once symbolized galactic unity now felt like a tomb for civilizations that were slowly dying without understanding why. Engineer Tom Harrison appeared on the main viewing screen, transmitting from a location somewhere in human space that alien navigation systems could no longer detect or reach. His presence at this emergency session was both a lifeline and a humiliation for the assembled alien representatives, as he had become their only remaining link to the species they had driven into exile. The irony was not lost on anyone that they now needed permission to speak with the people they had treated as inferiors. Tom adjusted his position slightly, his Earth uniform crisp and professional as he addressed the beings who had once held authority over human affairs. Honorable representatives, I have been authorized by President Walsh to provide you with an analysis of your current situation. The purpose of this communication is not negotiation, but education. You asked for humanity to leave, and we have honored that request completely. What you are experiencing now are the consequences of that departure. Chancellor Vorthak leaned forward in his massive chair, his scaled features showing signs of stress that would have been unthinkable just months ago. Engineer Harrison, our infrastructure systems are failing across multiple sectors. Manufacturing planets are going offline, communication networks are degrading, and our navigation systems are showing critical errors. We need immediate technical assistance to prevent a complete breakdown of galactic civilization. Tom's expression remained professionally neutral, though those who knew humans well might have detected a slight smile. Chancellor, you are correct that your systems are failing. What you may not understand is that those systems were never entirely yours to begin with. For the past 20 years, human engineers, scientists, and technicians have been integrated into every aspect of galactic infrastructure. We didn't just participate in your civilization. We became essential to its operation. Dr. Amanda Foster materialized beside Tom on the transmission, her scientific credentials making her the most qualified person to explain the technical reality of the galactic crisis. The quantum processors that manage your banking systems use human-designed algorithms for transaction verification. Your faster-than-light communication networks rely on human-developed signal amplification protocols. Even your basic environmental systems on major space stations incorporate human innovations that were never properly documented in your technical databases. The revelation hit the assembled aliens like a physical blow. For decades, they had assumed that human contributions to galactic technology were minor additions to their own superior knowledge. The reality was that human innovation had become so deeply embedded in their infrastructure that removing it was causing systemic collapse across entire sectors of space. Captain Alex Morrison had spent the past 6 months documenting alien attempts to reach human space, and his findings were both fascinating and terrifying from the alien perspective. His independent vessel, the Pathfinder, had observed dozens of expedition attempts by various alien fleets, all ending in complete failure. He transmitted his report to the assembly with the detached professionalism of a scientist studying a particularly interesting phenomenon. I have tracked 47 separate attempts by assembly forces to locate and reach human territories, Captain Morrison reported. The results have been consistent across all expeditions. Ships departing for known human colonies find themselves in empty space with no recognizable stellar references. Navigation computers show successful arrival at target coordinates, but the systems they seek to reach no longer exist in detectable space-time. The truth behind the navigation failures was even more disturbing than the aliens realized. Humanity had not simply hidden their new territories. They had fundamentally altered the relationship between human space and the rest of the galaxy. The quantum displacement technology that powered human vessels operated on principles that allowed them to exist in parallel dimensions, accessible only through navigation algorithms that were entirely human in origin. Flux prime of the luminary manifested at the center of the chamber, its energy form flickering with patterns that indicated severe distress. The luminary had always prided themselves on their advanced understanding of energy manipulation and dimensional physics. But human disappearance had revealed gaps in their knowledge that threatened their entire technological foundation. Human engineer Harrison, our energy collection networks are showing systematic failures. The harmonics that regulate our power distribution systems are destabilizing without constant adjustment protocols that we cannot replicate. Tom nodded with the patience of a teacher explaining a simple concept to struggling students. The harmonic resonance frequencies that stabilize your energy networks were developed through collaboration between luminary engineers and human physicists 20 years ago. The adjustment protocols you mentioned require understanding of quantum field mathematics that your species has not yet developed independently. When our physicists left, they took that knowledge with them. The economic implications of human departure were becoming catastrophic across multiple sectors. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for centuries were collapsing as the logistics networks that coordinated interstellar commerce revealed their dependence on human-designed optimization systems. Entire planets that specialized in manufacturing were discovering that their production processes relied on human innovations that had never been properly documented or transferred to alien control. Dr. Jennifer Lee appeared on screen beside her colleagues, her archaeological credentials lending authority to the most shocking revelation yet to emerge from humanity's exodus. Dr. Lee had spent years studying artifacts found throughout galactic space, using human historical analysis methods that aliens had dismissed as primitive. Her findings would fundamentally challenge everything the galactic community believed about their own origins and development. Representatives of the assembly, Dr. Lee began with the calm precision of a scientist delivering world-changing news. My team has been analyzing the historical record of galactic development using human archaeological techniques. We have discovered evidence that calls into question the fundamental assumptions about technological development in this galaxy. The quantum resonance crystals that power Dominion technology show isotopic signatures consistent with human industrial processes from approximately 3,000 years ago. The chamber erupted in protests and denials, but Dr. Lee continued her presentation with increasingly devastating evidence. The mathematical principles underlying luminary energy manipulation are based on number systems that originated in ancient human civilizations. The biological adaptation technologies used by the Hive Collective incorporate genetic sequences that can be traced to human DNA patterns. Even the faster-than-light travel that all galactic species take for granted was originally developed using principles first discovered by human scientists. Chancellor Vorthak's voice carried a note of desperation that would have been unthinkable before the human exodus. You are claiming that our entire technological foundation is based on human innovations, that we are dependent on a species we considered primitive and unpredictable. Dr. Lee's response was delivered with the gentle firmness of someone explaining an uncomfortable truth. Chancellor, What we are saying is that human civilization has been present in this galaxy for far longer than your records indicate. Your species developed advanced technologies by building upon foundations that were already in place when you achieved spaceflight. Those foundations were created by earlier human civilizations that explored this galaxy thousands of years before your current expansion. The implications of this revelation were staggering. If human civilization had existed in the galaxy for millennia before the rise of current alien species, then everything the galactic community understood about their own development and superiority was fundamentally wrong. They had not welcomed humans as junior partners. They had been dependent on human knowledge from the very beginning. Engineer Tom Harrison delivered the final piece of information that would complete the aliens' understanding of their situation. The current human exodus was not the first time our species has withdrawn from galactic society. According to our historical records, previous human civilizations made similar departures when they encountered species that proved unable to coexist peacefully. The technologies and knowledge bases you consider ancient alien wisdom were actually gifts left behind by humans who hoped future galactic development would prove more promising. Unit 7 of the Hive Collective processed this information with the mechanical precision that characterized its species, but even its calculated responses showed signs of system stress. If human claims regarding historical precedents are accurate, then collective projections regarding galactic stability require complete recalculation. Current infrastructure dependencies suggest 89.7% probability of complete civilizational collapse within 18 standard months without human technical support. President Walsh had authorized this final communication to provide the Galactic Assembly with complete understanding of their situation before humanity permanently severed all contact with their former territories. Tom Harrison delivered the message with the dignity befitting Earth's final statement to the species that had chosen prejudice over partnership. The human species hereby formally concludes all obligations to the Galactic Assembly and its member civilizations. We withdraw our knowledge, our innovations, and our presence from galactic space permanently. The technologies that are failing throughout your territories will continue to degrade until complete system collapse occurs. The navigation barriers preventing access to human space are permanent and cannot be overcome using any technology available to current galactic civilizations. Chancellor Vorthak made one final desperate attempt to salvage something from the wreckage of galactic policy. Engineer Harrison, surely we can reach some accommodation. The Assembly is prepared to offer significant concessions in exchange for human technical assistance in stabilizing our infrastructure. Tom's response carried the finality of a door closing forever. Chancellor, 6 months ago you had the opportunity to treat humanity as equals deserving of respect and freedom. You chose instead to see us as a problem requiring management and control. The consequences of that choice are now unfolding across your territories. Humanity will not return to rescue civilizations that refuse to value our partnership when it was freely offered. The transmission ended, leaving the Galactic Assembly alone with the magnitude of their miscalculation. They had driven away the species that had quietly become essential to their survival, taking with them technologies and knowledge that could not be replaced. As the chamber lights dimmed and representatives departed to address the crises consuming their individual territories, one truth became undeniably clear. Humanity had not needed the galaxy, but the galaxy had desperately needed humanity. In the months that followed, as communication networks failed and space stations went dark across civilized space, the aliens would have ample time to contemplate the difference between managing a population and losing the foundation of their entire civilization. The stars that had once trembled at humanity's departure now seemed to mourn the species that might have been their salvation, if only pride and prejudice had not blinded their leaders to the value of the gift they had so carelessly discarded.